Hey everybody, this is Jason Creel and you're watching the Lawn Care Life channel, but I'm calling this Lawn Care Live because on Monday nights I have been going live at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 Eastern, for about an hour taking questions. I have guests on here and just been having a good time doing this. Actually, it's one of the things I have enjoyed on YouTube. So happy to be with you again tonight. So if you get this, if you're watching, if you got questions about your lawn, we talk about pretty much whatever you want to talk about as far as lawn care. If I don't know the answer, I just tell you I don't know. But weed control, fertilization, mowing, maintenance, lawn equipment, whatever you want to talk about, then bring it on because I love the interaction. Today, just to start the conversation off, you have those days in your lawn business, for me, or those of you in the lawn business, that don't always go exactly according to plan. And I've had a pretty smooth transition. I'm not a real Mr. Fix It kind of guy, just to be honest with you. So as I have, been in the lawn business, I try to keep my equipment upgraded because I don't want something that's going to be breaking and having problems with. Well, today I had a little issue. Basically, I got a fertilizer spreader and the impeller on it, the thing that spins around to throw the fertilizer, it wasn't spinning. Okay, so the fertilizer's coming out, but it's not throwing it. Well, that was frustrating. So I basically drove it back. Was going to put a different fertilizer spreader on the rack, but then my rack that I carry the fertilizer spreader on, you know how fertilizer is so corrosive. Basically, the bolts were rusted on that where I was trying to adjust the foot pedals on the rack down there. So had an ordeal getting the bolts cut off with the Sawzall, got new bolts put on, and it was too late. So I just like, whatever. Just gave up. I'm going to regroup and tomorrow. Fortunately, I'm ahead of schedule. Had some very favorable weather last week. Praise the Lord for that. And I'm kind of going smooth and steady on my fertilizer around here. So I was okay. I only got 4 yards done today, which is pathetic, but that's just what happened. So, all right. Appreciate you guys bringing the questions. Let's start the discussion and let me know what you got. So, first question here is from Steven. And Steven says, what cool season herbicide does the best job on wild violets? Been using T-zone and not getting very good control. Tell you what, Steven, I've been working on wild violets from a warm season perspective too, asking the same question. Here's what I found out. All right, for cool season, there's a product called, I believe it's called Sure Power. I have a sample of it, and I'm wanting to use it specifically for wild violets. So I think that product is very good on wild violets, creeping Charlie, things like that. I'm using. As I get these new customers sign up in the springtime. One of the things we do different from like an existing customer, existing customer, I go in there and spray prodiamine round 1, round 2. Well, let's say I get a new customer round 2, like March or April. Well, I go in there with quinclorac, trying to knock out the crabgrass if it's already germinated. Well, quinclorac is actually very good on wild violet. I was one of the 4 yards I did today because I only got 4 done. I went there and it was one I had sprayed last time for the first time with quinclorac. It had a lot of wild violets today. They weren't gone, but they were not happy. Okay. I hit them today with blindside, but quinclorac, is kind of a crabgrass pre-emergent, post-emergent product. So solitaire and products like that. So check the label, make sure it's good for your grass type. But those are some suggestions. All right. Moving on. Thank you guys for the questions. Got them lined up here. Let's see what we can do. Last week we had Paul Jameson on. You can go back and watch past episodes. Actually, these come on the channel. Once after the live part's done, you can go back and watch them on the channel if you didn't catch it all. Do you have fungicides built in your program? If not, how do you deal with fungus problems that pop up? From the Sod Father. Okay, so the answer is mostly no to that. But here's what I do. So I had a guy, he called me today actually, and he called me last week, maybe a week before that too, but he had a fungus. Okay, when people get a big fungus in their yard, it looks bad. Okay, and I'm dealing with warm season grasses. So what happens is, my understanding here, most of the time the the large patch and these situations where you have this big dead looking spot in your yard, most of the time that starts in the fall. And we don't notice it in our warm season grasses because the grass is dormant. So it's all brown. So you don't notice that you got a big brown spot in your yard because the whole yard's brown. Well, then as you move into spring and the grass starts turning green, what's not turning green? Where you have that big fungus. So, excuse me. Sometimes what you do though, if you got a customer that has that problem, multiple years in a row, or maybe they have it one time, you can ask them, hey, is this something that you've had in the past as well? If maybe they're, not been a customer very long. If so, then you can, then at that point, you can sell them on a fungicide. But you want to make sure you price it right. Fungicides are expensive. And so you put that in their program in the fall, try to get out and get it watered in before you start getting that cool weather. Like here in my market around Birmingham, Alabama, that might be early October, something like that. And you always check the weather forecast. But anyway, doing that will help prevent it. Now, when you see one like this time of year, when I've been seeing fungus in the yard, it's very minimal amount of customers that have it. Now, I'm not talking about like in the summer where people get a little bit of dollar spot or something like that. That's very common. But oftentimes they may have a drainage problem, or it's just, or they're watering too much or whatever. So, I don't build it in because it's such a small minority of the customers that have a fungus. All right. Freeport says, what's up? Good to hear from you. He's a regular on the channel. Jose says, is using the trimmer with no guard dangerous? Well, I mean, I would say it's more dangerous than using one with a guard, but I definitely take my guards off. I can see better when I'm edging. I can use a little bit longer string, which I prefer. I just don't like the guard. I don't, if it avoids my warranty, whatever, I don't care. I don't like it. I want it to perform the way I want it to perform. Hey, Jason, why did you decide to go to one truck on the weed control? Maybe this is from Omega Lawn Care. Maybe he saw, I did a video the other day on my weed control and fertilization setup. So I showed my truck. Well, I had a situation basically where I was caught in a situation where I had more customers than I could handle. Last year, I was up to around 480 customers. Okay. That was a little bit more than I could handle, but not quite enough to hire somebody. So I kind of had to go one way or another. And a lot of people probably can relate, been in these situations. I had to either hire somebody and kind of make that jump, or shrink down because I was working all the time and trying to do YouTube and all that. So you had to go one way or another. I went the shrink down route. So I actually sold some of my customers to a friend of mine. He took over those, and I shrunk. I went from 2 trucks down to 1 truck. And the reason, a few things. I wanted to just simplify things for a little bit. I didn't have enough customers to really justify hiring somebody full time. I had a guy helping me some part time, but he wasn't as available as I needed him to be for my needs. And so it was just kind of this business decision at that point in time. Now I may end up back in the same situation again because I'm still taking on new customers. I'm still growing. But I also, by doing that, I tightened up my route. Okay. I got rid of some of the customers that were further away. And so I have a much tighter route, and I'm happy about that. Good question. Sprigging St. Augustine, any suggestions? I don't know if you'd call it sprigging what I did last year, but I just threw some pieces of St. Augustine sod out randomly because I'm not in a big hurry. And this year it survived the winter, which was good for me. And I'm expecting it to spread pretty quickly. So, just keep it watered. I mean, you get one of those things like I've got, it's called a Pro Plugger. They're not very expensive on Amazon. It might be $40 or something. But, as it starts to spread, you can steal a plug, cut a plug out in the center of your nicer St. Augustine and move it to an area that's still bare so that you can speed up the process. But I don't know, just keeping it watered, keeping it survive, but it spreads pretty fast for sure. Obviously fertilizer once it gets going. All right, Jason, I'm learning slowly. I applied prodiamine and Celsius too late. Bill in Fairhope. Is that Fairhope, Alabama? Bill, I know where that is, but um, yeah, I mean, if you're too late with your prodiamine, you're not going to get a lot of help with it, And again, it depends on what your situation is, what kind of grass you got. For us, if well, I'm mostly Bermuda lawns, I heard somebody the other day say, left a comment saying, you know what, the key to keeping your weeds out of your Bermuda lawn is just fertilizing and making it nice and healthy. And I try not to disagree a whole lot on YouTube, but I think on that one I actually said I would respectfully disagree with that. Bermuda is not very good at choking out weeds on its own. Now, of course, a healthy, thick Bermuda is going to do a better job than a thin, scraggly looking yard. But to me, the prodiamine is very important. I tell somebody if I could only do one application the whole year, it would be spraying prodiamine before the crabgrass germinates. Now that's on Bermuda yard. So, Bill, I don't know if you got Bermuda. I don't know if you got down in Fairhope, you may have St. Augustine or Centipede or whatever. If that's the case, those don't get eat up nearly as bad with crabgrass. So, but you're learning. There you go. You can. Celsius, I don't typically broadcast, blanket application with Celsius. Just a little bit pricey. That's more of something I walk around spot treating with, but it is a very good product, very versatile. Scott Falkenberry, how do you spray for vegetation like I've to kill its? You got to maybe do your spell check on that one, Scott. Reword it where I can't. I'm not sure if you're asking to kill poison ivy or something. I don't know. Reword it where I can read it here. Love your channel. This is from John. Would love you see you do a show on St. Augustine like the ones you do on Bermuda and Zoysia. I'm in Atlanta, and you seem to be the biggest expert on St. Augustine in a similarly northern climate. Well, John, I wouldn't exactly call myself an expert on St. Augustine. I do have a few yards that are St. Augustine, so I do deal with it. I'm gonna move my screen just a fudge. I do deal with it, but I don't have that many, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think what I'm wanting to do is bring other people on who are guests who we can talk to. I did interview one of my videos on my channel. You can search for it. I interviewed Alan Hain, the lawn care nut, and I asked him some questions about St. Augustine. He's got a lot of experience with that. But you're right. He's down there in like the Tampa area where it stays warm all the time. In the Atlanta market, St. Augustine, like I am in the Birmingham market, kind of that northernmost limit where you might get, I think you got to be a little bit careful spraying during transition periods and just, you don't want it to go stressed in the wintertime because you get a cold winter, it might stress it out. And if you get hammered with a hard winter and it doesn't come out looking too good this spring, then don't just bombard it with more herbicides in the spring. Let it bounce back before you start worrying about the 3 weeds in the yard and go out there hammer it with a bunch of herbicides. So, but thank you, John. Thoughts on foliar iron versus ironite and the best way to keep Bermuda out of planter beds. Okay, we were talking the other night. My friend James, who's a contributor on the channel, he was talking about iron, and the way I understood it, okay, there's that a liquid version of iron is going to be much more easily acceptable by the plant and more beneficial, okay, than the granular one. Now you got to be careful with iron staining everything it touches, like the concrete and the fence and things like that. But we don't use iron. I don't use any iron in my program. We have a lot of iron in our soil naturally. But that was what I learned the other day. All right. Owner Outdoors says hello to everybody. Effective diesel. Is there anything I can do for Johnson grass that is sporadically in St. Augustine without killing the St. Augustine? I don't know if I deal specifically with Johnson grass, but as far as grassy, like I would want to test out my Celsius Certainty combination, which is a very common combo product. They both have some effectiveness on grassy weeds, and I'm pretty sure you can use that combination on St. Augustine grass. So you could try that combo. It'll get a lot of weeds, not all weeds, but that would be my, if I was attempting to knock that out. Again, not having a lot of experience with Johnson grass in particular, but I know it has some effects on ryegrass, fescue, clumps, Dallisgrass, crabgrass, even, a lot of grassy weeds it can help on. Bill says, Jason, what's the best way to get damaged grass to recover? I use Prodiamine Celsius too late in March. Yellow grass slow to green up. Okay, Bill, your Prodiamine, I don't think is causing it to turn yellow. Bill, clarify what kind of grass you have here. Okay, that I think that'd be helpful to me. If I'm going to guess without you telling me, I'm going to say you got centipede. But Bill, let us know what kind of grass you have, and we'll come back to that. Thank you for the podcast. It's very informative. I'm not, maybe are you referring to this being my podcast? Because I don't actually have a podcast, so I've been a guest on several podcasts, but I'm kind of using this. It's sort of like a podcast. Best lawnmower for hills. Well, as far as without going into brands and things like that, a walk behind mower where you riding back there on your sulky or your Velky, they're traditionally thought to be the best for hills. Now, with that being said, I don't know what kind of hills you're dealing with, but stand-on mowers and riding mowers will definitely, not all of them, they're not all created equal. And this is one of these things where I think as you get a better quality mower, like a commercial grade mower versus a residential grade mower, even a higher grade commercial mower. Yeah, it's bigger, faster, more powerful engine, but also typically better hydraulic system, so it'll hold better on hills. Now, I'm not recommend you do anything that your owner's manual tells you not to, okay? But anyway, I've been amazed with how they'll perform on hills. But typically, now unless you're wanting something like maybe those like Ventrax or something, they're like sure enough for hills. But a walk behind mower typically made to perform on hills. And about that, I tell you, it's crazy to me how many companies, these big companies, like have lots of money, and they'll have a big box truck with a walk-behind mower in it and two people, and that's what they have. And I know they can afford anything they want, but it's just like it's so versatile. They have like a 48-inch walk-behind back there, and two guys, and they just run around and do everything with that. What's your thoughts on how to charge customers for fertilization weed control, monthly or per round? I'm currently doing monthly, but I'm not sure if that's the best route. Thanks in advance. JT, I guess that's JT. I charge per round, okay, without contracts. But I know that some of these other companies do monthly, and I wouldn't be opposed to that either. I think, in my opinion, it's a little bit harder sell to do it monthly. I don't know that much harder, but I wouldn't let that stop me. If collections has been a problem, or you just get sick of trying to collect money, then I could see going, hey, we're going to have a credit card on file. Let's say 7 applications a year is what I do. You divide that by 12. Here's your monthly fee. We charge you beginning every month, and that's just the way it goes. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. I just charge per application. So if I spray 15 yards a day or fertilize 15 yards, whatever, at the end of the day, they email out the invoices, and most of them pay with credit cards. Some do online bill pay or checks or whatever, but or I have some credit card on file. That's me, but I wouldn't be opposed to anybody saying I'm going to do credit card on file and we're going to do it per round or per month. Yeah, you're going to lose a few customers probably, but the hassle that you're going to eliminate might be worth it. How do you know if a client needs core aeration in early spring when all the lawns are still dormant and hard and compact? Well, I mean, I don't, the cool season people seem like they're always aerating and overseeding in the fall. Okay. In the warm season climates where I'm at, you don't see near as much aeration. But I don't provide it with my service. I have a guy that does it, and if somebody's interested in it, I just send them to him. But I mean, to me, as far as needs it and don't need, I don't know if I can give a good answer for that. But sometimes it's just what the customer wants. So you have customers. Some of them they want it done every year, and they want it done a certain time every year. And it's like, okay, the next door neighbor doesn't get it, and I can't tell one difference in his yard versus other. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Obviously it does. You're helping with compacted soil, for sure. But is that the primary way to improve a lawn? I'm not so sure about that. But the answer, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you a good answer. But typically, I just let the customer drive that. And if you want to sell it with your business, you just push it and let them decide. Is what I would do. All right. Is it too late for prodiamine now in Bermuda? And I'm assuming that's Northwest Tennessee. I'd say probably so, Lucas. I don't know what I feel pretty confident that it is. If you're trying, I don't know what kind of grass you got, but if you're trying to get prodiamine out for crabgrass, you probably have missed your mark. All right. A-Bear is howdy, South Louisiana down there. What kind of grass you have in South Louisiana? I'm gonna guess you got St. Augustine. All right, Eric, enjoying the show. Thumbs up. Eric's been on here before. I recognize that name. Thanks for watching. Dalton says, love the channel. Recently lost my full-time job and in the process of turning my part-time passion of lawn care into a full-time career, but having trouble finding clients. Dalton, thank you for watching. Sorry to hear about you losing your job. I think you'll be one thing you can find out on here is so many people have been in your situation, either lost their job or quit their job or, some reason landed in lawn care. And while that's a difficult thing to have happen to you, a lot of times it ends up working out great. So, I think I always try to separate this between like short term, like got to get customers next week versus long term, trying to build a company over time. So, long term, build a company over time. You get a website, you start doing search engine optimization, you build all your social media profiles, and you start building relationships with people who can send you customers. So I say, hey, if I'm the weed control guy, I want to get to know the mowing guys. If I'm the mowing guy, I want to get to know the weed control guys because I get calls all the time for lawn mowing, and I send them to my buddies who mow grass. They get asked about weed control, they send them to me. Okay, that's a great relationship to have. And of course, the website ranking well on Google, which is not something that's going to happen tomorrow, but over time, building your online reviews, optimizing it for your area can really bring in a lot of customers for your business. Now, short term, maybe some of these things might help short term too. You might meet that right guy who can send you a lot of business or whatever. But if you get that Facebook profile and you start being active in these local Facebook groups, people are searching. I think it's important when I'm desperate, this is what I do. I go out on a Saturday and I make myself visible and available in these neighborhoods where people are out working in the spring. It's beautiful weather. They're out putting out mulch, trimming hedges. You can tell whose yard hasn't been cut, whose has. If you knock on the door, knock on and say, hey, we provide service in lawn. Would you want a quote for your lawn care service today? So that's a little bit more aggressive. I mean, direct mail, door hangers, postcard, all that works, but the return is very low. I think online and through relationships to me is the best way. But once you get established, you start getting all the referrals. You just got to get that initial customer base and just keep a long-term vision. All right. I think, is that where you live? Eric's telling A-Bear that he lives in Gretna. I guess that's in Louisiana. All right. I've been listening to past shows. I drove from Raleigh, North Carolina to Atlanta and back to pick up a new turfware ride-on sprayer. Yeah, I've seen those turfwares advertised. I'd be interested to know how you like that thing. I know they kind of broke into the market, and I don't know. Yeah, I know that they're fairly new from what I understand. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on your new spreader sprayer. Kevin is in Northwest Alabama, maybe up towards Muscle Shoals or somewhere like that. Selected post-emergent for Kentucky bluegrass and ryegrass in a Bermuda lawn. Would prodiamine prevent it? I have some clumps. Thanks. If you got a clump right now, like I say, I keep mentioning using Celsius and Certainty as a combination. That combo will work, or just one or the other will work. Katana works. Tribute Total works. The prodiamine, if you put it out in the fall, I'm using Spectacle, but you can use prodiamine. It should help if you got like some annual ryegrass. If it's a perennial ryegrass, then it's not going to work. And even when it goes dormant, your grass is totally dormant in January and stuff, you can spray it, spot treat with glyphosate. So but anyway, hope that helps. AB or Ab Woodworking Baker. My mower broke down. I have a client I need to mow tomorrow. I texted her and she offered to let me borrow her mower, but she's not sure it'll start. I don't have a backup mower. Tell you what, sometimes we have friends in the lawn business that are willing to kind of help each other out. And I know I have some friends and I let them know, and now they're not borrowing my equipment every day or nothing, but I kind of let them, if they're getting a bind, I'll let them know, hey, I'm here for you. All right. Not far from me. So A-Bear and Eric live close to each other in South Louisiana, I believe. What kind of grass you got down there? What should I do? If she's got a mower, I don't know how far away out of your way it is, but I don't know if you got 1 yard to cut or multiple yards to cut or whatever, but you got to get a mower that's dependable. And if her mower will work, I guess you could do that for the short term, but I'll be thinking more long term. If you lose one customer, you lose her, whatever. If her mower will work, go do it, but then try to find a long-term solution. Ultimately, in my opinion, we're trying to build customers and generate enough revenue so that we can reduce equipment breakdowns. Okay, and I started off today talking about how I had a little equipment issue, but I try to keep my equipment upgraded. You got to be profitable to do that. So, you got to start what you got, but if you can start upgrading your equipment and where you can be reliable and dependable, and ultimately going to make you more profitable. All right. Pro Plug's the only way I'm able to cover bare spots. Yeah, I got one of those Pro Pluggers. I think those things are pretty cool. And basically, if you're not familiar with it, it's like something you'd step on. It looks kind of like a pogo stick almost, but you step on it, it cuts a hole in the yard, like you were cutting a golf hole out in a putting green or something. But you take that and you can do like 10 of them, and it loads them up inside the barrel on this thing, and then you go put them wherever you want to, and you can step on them or whatever, get them down in the dirt. And it's a way to, I did that in my yard, spreading Bermuda grass. It might take it a couple of weeks to take root, that new plug. Once it takes root, it starts spreading. So anytime I got a big bare spot, I start sticking a couple of those plugs in the middle. I'm speeding up the process. All right. Eric says, cool, they live close together in Louisiana. All right. Is there a pre-emergent for Dallisgrass? No, there's not. And the reason, Dallisgrass, you understand, like a pre-emergent is going to be effective on an annual weed, but not a perennial weed. So Dallisgrass is a perennial, not an annual. So no, you can't prevent it with a pre-emergent. I'm going to say Dallisgrass is so difficult to control. I'm telling you, I go super aggressive on it, pounding it with everything, and it's still, I can get rid of it, but it is very difficult. What can I use on a zoysia lawn to kill Dallisgrass? Spot spraying. You can always take glyphosate and just make a brown spot in your yard. But using Tribute Total twice in the fall, like October, again November, and then start hammering again as soon as it comes back in the spring. So like March, April, just keep pounding it. Or Celsius and Certainty is a good combination, or Celsius and Revolver, or Manuscript's another product. But it's tough. It's real tough. And honestly, I spray it with glyphosate on Bermuda yards in the wintertime, but it's going to be hard to get rid of it, to be honest with you. I'm not saying if you do 3 applications 10 days apart, so you might do that in your own lawn. It's hard to do that for a customer. And if you just had a little bit, it might be worth just spraying it with some of this to kill it and let the grass grow back in. If your yard's covered in it, that's a whole different story. Tenacity, is it for warm or cool season grasses? I'm pretty sure tenacity is for cool season grasses. How to apply? I mean, I don't use it. Like I said, it's cool season grass product, but you just want to follow the label. Mix it like all those products pretty much going to tell you how to mix it, whether you're spraying in a tank sprayer or spot treating in a little small backpack sprayer, handheld sprayer. It tells you the rate, tells you to add surfactant. It tells you exactly what to do on the label. And if you need help understanding calibration, we do have a pretty good calibration video on YouTube. You can just go search for calibration lawn care life. I'm pretty sure it'll come up. All right. Any info on no, what is that? Bonide Weed Beater Ultra over Bermuda in Zone 5. I'm sorry, man. I don't know what that is. I'm not sure. All right. Greg says, when you have to spray a whole yard to kill off all the weeds, what do you use? Well, Greg, it's going to depend on what kind of grass you got. Okay. Again, let me speak from my own experience. If I got a yard right now, I go pull up, it's a Bermuda yard and anything done to it about 25 years. Then I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, okay, what's the needs right now as I'm speaking on April the 26th? I'm thinking, well, they're going to have crabgrass. Now, how do you know they're going to have grass? Well, just about every yard's got crabgrass around here. But I can also probably look at the yard and see where there's crabgrass from the previous year. I can see the dead plant from the previous year. And so I'm thinking, and I could probably on April the 26th in the Birmingham, Alabama market, get down there and look where the dead crabgrass was and see the baby crabgrass already sprouting up from this year. So you got a crabgrass problem. So I can't use pre-emergent. It's not going to do me a whole lot of good at this point. I might put some prodiamine in there, but I'm going to put also a quinclorac product in there with it. And the one I'm using right now is called Q-Ball from New Farm. So I've got the Q-Ball that's trying to knock out the crabgrass. And then I'm going to see, well, what other weeds are in there? So I might have like a three-way product in there, like triplets, a product I use. Again, I'm going to give you what I'm doing. I'll try to simplify it for you in just a second. Put triplet in there. That's going to knock out a lot of the broadleaf weeds. And then maybe if it's a bunch of tough weeds because it's just been neglected, you might have to put something like change up in there. If you put that in there, you can probably leave the triplet out. Anyway, that's kind of the combo I would go for. It wouldn't kill everything, but hopefully that would get your major problems. Now, if it's your own yard and you just want to kill, you just want something simple, you can, again, you got to understand if you got to have a huge crabgrass problem, it doesn't matter if you kill. Sometimes I think it's the misconception. People are trying to kill their little spring weeds that are going to be around for just a few more weeks before the heat kills them, and they're neglecting the crabgrass army that's going to invade their lawn and just totally take over the whole lawn. So sometimes somebody takes me a picture of some poa today. So what got to do about this poa? I was like, well, I mean, just it's not going to be around long. I mean, I wouldn't even worry about it. I mean, just cut it. It may not come back from the lawnmower. But they sometimes ignore the bigger problem of all the summer weeds that are about to come. So because sometimes, Greg, you got to take it. You got to take a layer of time. If I'm getting that yard in February, I'm gonna go ahead and use prodiamine, and I might put change up in there, metsulfuron, or and I'm just wiping out. Again, it's going to depend a little bit on what kind of weeds they got. All right. What do you recommend investing $5,000 on new lawn care equipment? I own a truck already. Now, are you spraying lawns or mowing lawns? Navy Lawn Care, please help me clarify that. What do you think about Miso 4? I don't know what that is. So sorry on that one. All right. I've been digging up Dallisgrass as I see it. My neighbor's yard looks like a hayfield. There you go. Yeah, shovel's pretty good. You can't hardly pull it up by your hand unless you're some kind of Olympic weightlifter. It's so aggravating to try to pull it up. Davis Dombrowski. I have commercial lawn equipment, but no truck and work part-time. Old truck broke down for 200,000 miles. All right. You might have to work close to home. And, to me, again, I think the situation here, when I'm talking about people with business, I think sometimes we get hung up on our equipment and things like that, and I understand that. But ultimately, what's probably going to make you successful or not successful is, are you able to get customers? Because if you get customers and can price them right, then you become profitable, and then equipment's not a big deal anymore because you're making plenty of money to pay for the equipment. So sometimes I think I'm just going to use whatever equipment I got to use to get, but I'm going to focus on getting more customers to improve my profit problem or lack of profit problem, so that I can get a truck, a mower, and all that. And that takes time. I'm not rushing anybody. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying, make sure you're out there hustling to get customers as well as working with your equipment. Have you used EarthMax from Harrell's? Yes, I have used EarthMax from Harrell's, and we got some. I've used it mostly on like Centipede and St. Augustine lawns during March and April, when you're trying not to, when they're in transition, you're trying not to set them back by spraying any kind of herbicide. So EarthMax gives them some nutrients, and that's the main time I've used that. So my friend James, who's my Harold's rep, he's the one that sells me some EarthMax. He responded to the guy asking about Johnson grass, I believe in a St. Augustine lawn, says certainty has good activity. Be sure it's Johnson grass. So he's saying make sure it's Johnson grass. And like I'd recommend, maybe that Celsius certainty combination. Sounds like, according to James, the certainty is going to be more effective than the Celsius. JT says that I am the man. Okay, JT, that's a hotly debated topic of whether that's true or not. Is it best to have a lawn mowing plus aeration plus fertilizing service all at once when just starting out, or just concentrate on one service? I love that question, and I've thought about that as I was only mowing, then I went to mowing and weed control, and now I'm doing only weed control, and I've thought about, what, I think there's a real market for, again, the sure enough, all you can, providing it all to somebody. Like, I feel like in my area right now, if I mowed grass and did weed control, I could get customers, because I could go in there and sell myself as like, I'm the complete solution. You pay me 12 months out of the year. We take care of your shrubs. We keep the weeds out of your flower beds. And what I would do, man, I would be using all the stuff I got, my whole arsenal. I mean, I go in there and spray stuff to keep their flower beds clean. Of course, I couldn't do it all by myself, and I think you're solo. That's going to be the hugest challenge. That's probably why I'm not doing it. But I would be spraying growth regulator on those lawns, so that I've got them on this annual mowing contract. But I'm spraying the growth regulator like 4 or 5 times a year during the busiest growing season, so that I don't have to the grass is not growing as fast. I can get in there and mow it quickly, and just making me more profitable, more effective. And I think people would be so thrilled with how their lawn look, because I'm taking care of the weeds, the mowing, the everything. So I think there's a market for that for sure. It's going to be very difficult when you're solo. I think you need to figure out, JT, what you want your business to look like 5 years from now. And if that's what you want it to be, then you can start that way and just know you're going to be working like crazy getting it started. Or you can, start with one and add the others later. Adam says he loves his Ferris. That's great. All right, Bill's clarifying that he does have centipede, and he's damaged by a late Celsius out, yellowed, slow to recover. Yeah, I actually learned that the hard way too, Bill, so don't feel bad. But if you spray it during the transition, and centipede doesn't necessarily love Celsius anyway. Okay, I mean it's labeled for it, but you gotta go easy on it. So definitely want to next time spray it while it's still brown, like January, or wait till Fairhope. You probably went in April. It should be pretty much green by then, and then spray it. But you may also look at change up as an option. Centipede is very tolerant of change up, but again, you don't want to do that during transition either. About the only one that is recommended during transition that my friend James recommends is atrazine, and it's going to be a little bit slow, but you can spray it without causing much damage to the lawn. But I think it's a restricted use product, so you'd have to be licensed. supposed to be licensed. So let's put it that way. All right. What's your, I'm sorry, I forgot to put the next one on the screen. What's your advice to dealing with a 5 to 7 acre field with Bahia grass and a lot of weeds? Oh, and a lot of sand. I live in the sand hills of North Carolina. Oh man, Bahia grass, you know, I know people have their lawn out of Bahia. I just can't imagine that. But you can definitely suppress Bahia grass, you know, where it's not putting up the seed head near as fast with just a quarter of an ounce of metsulfuron. And that's a very cheap product. So you can actually spray 5 to 7 acres for not a whole lot of money using metsulfuron. So that's what I would do at a quarter ounce. And that, again, unless you're just got a Bahia grass lawn, even if you did that, it would probably suppress it without killing it. And it would kill a lot of weeds. Okay, so, but I don't know what your primary grass type is, Jeff. But that's one thought you might look into. Hillcrest Lawn Maintenance says he's getting into chemical application. He's got a 4-gallon battery backpack, many small sprayers, and a Let's Go spreader. I need something for liquid on big properties. Can't justify $10,000 for a ride on yet. Any advice? Hillcrest, where do you live? Maybe you can tell me that. You might, you know, depending on what you're trying to accomplish here, whether do you have a lot of big properties or a lot of smaller properties? So for me, I've got a lot of smaller properties. Okay, so getting by with a smaller machine is no problem for me because I just don't have that many big properties. You could possibly, but if you're dealing with a lot of big properties and you're wanting to spray them with your ride-on machine, then you know you might want to save up and get you a Z spray or something like that. And it may just take time. You may just have to go with what you got, or you could look for something used, or you start off with something cheaper. So, for instance, I saw recently on Facebook Marketplace where you could get the old Ground Logic spreader sprayer for $6,700 in Atlanta area. Okay, it was several years old, but it had never been used. Okay, and it was selling at it, and it got a deal because they were several years old, but still in the crate kind of thing. So you might find something like that. Again, that's I don't know. I wouldn't go out and just buy the cheapest thing you can find and just say, oh, this is better than nothing. I would personally rather save up and get a nice machine. But there's several nice ones out there, and you might be able to find one that has low hours on it. And anyway, for not so much money. I'm looking for a good alternative to Ringer, as the new formula is clumpy and powdery. I have gone to Milo until I got some that's Malorganite until I figure out an alternative. Milo lacks K, hence the need for something like Ringer. All right, I'm not familiar with Ringer. I'm sorry, but it sounds good. Is aerate any good to help with Georgia clay compaction? You know, I've seen a lot of opinions on that, and I don't know the answer. I'm not going to get into scientific deal, but for those of you who don't know, I think aerate is a liquid aeration product. So there's there's some products out there that basically, instead of using a machine to aerate the soil, they have a liquid product that's supposed to accomplish some of the same things. But again, you can go read the reviews, and some people think it's great, some people don't think it's great, but I haven't personally tried it yet. At what distance do you start including transportation costs in a price for mowing? Well, that's a good question. I never have done that, but I would definitely consider not taking them on as customers because they're too far away. So, you know, at some point, it's just not worth it. It's because it's not about me charging them $5 extra to drive out there. It's about me taking over a neighborhood and trying to get 25 yards in the same neighborhood, you know. So that, to me, that would be the way I would go. When is the best time to fertilize Bermuda grass and fescue grass? I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia, Jose. I'm assuming, again, I'm no cool season expert, but I'm assuming you could have done that weeks ago on your fescue, because it's probably growing pretty serious right now in Atlanta, I would imagine. Your Bermuda, I mean, you can do it now. I know if you're like us, we got down to basically freezing last week. But this week we're in the 80s. So I would say you can start fertilizing now, but it's not going to really start growing. If you want to be safe, give it a few more weeks. But if you want to do it now, it'll probably have some effect. But as it gets hot, then sure enough, Bermuda will grow with the fertilizer. Of course, it has to have some rain. Somebody's donated $10. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. It seems like every week, somebody, not every week, but people are giving contributions. I really appreciate it. Do you think we'll ever see a selective herbicide for Bermuda invading St. Augustine? Well, let me say this. I've heard that I believe there is now St. Augustine that is glyphosate tolerant, Roundup ready St. Augustine, if you will. So if that was the situation, you might be able to spray it with Roundup, and which would not hurt that particular variety of St. Augustine. Now, again, not most St. Augustine on planet Earth is not going to be Roundup ready or tolerant. So I wouldn't try it on your lawn, but I do think that is out there somewhere, from what I've heard. But I don't know. That would be tough to get your Bermuda out of St. Augustine. I'm experimenting with my test spot right now. I'm in South Carolina, about 30 minutes for Georgia. All right. How many clients can a single lawn mowing worker handle in a month with no help? I've got a trailer, Skag V-Ride, Echo, and how much work can I take on without help? Well, Davis, I don't know if you're mowing. Are you mowing weekly or bi-weekly? Okay, so if you're mowing, I mean, to me, like these average size lawns in my area, let's say a $50 lawn, I can do 8 to 10 of those by myself if I'm not driving all over the place, which you don't need to be. 8 to 10 yards a day. So if you're mowing them weekly, I mean, you're looking at, let's just say 8 going to low end times 5 work days, 40 yards by yourself. That's weekly. Now, if you're doing bi-weekly, obviously you can take on more, but you probably need to charge more. I'd try to get more weekly than you can. All right. A-Bear down there in South Louisiana has got Bermuda grass. Thank you for clarifying. Hey, Jason, Southwest Michigan in the house. Enjoy your shows. Appreciate that. I appreciate you watching. All right, let's see what we got here. North Louisiana here, mixture of Bermuda in the St. Augustine. Well, that's what I'm going to have at my house. I've got mostly Bermuda, but I throw a little St. Augustine in the shady areas. Are you seeing dead-looking areas in zoysia, especially in wet areas? I have seen that. I've had customers asking me about that where yeah, and I know what you're talking about. When it seems like it stays wet and it's all matted down, I tell people, I mean, to me, it's just like, I would rather them cut now that it's warm and we're past freezing weather. I mean, I would be okay if they cut it a little shorter, even if it stressed it out a little bit, just to get rid of some of that thatch and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I definitely have seen some of that. And it gets all matted up, and it just takes it a while to wake up. We need some hot weather. I know Bassmaster 1953 is over in Georgia, so similar climate to what I'm in. All right, David says he works part-time at UPS in afternoons. He doesn't have a truck, but he does have a Honda push mower and Echo equipment. Should I start mowing out of a car, Nissan Maxima? You should listen to my friend Paul Jameson. It was on here last week, Davis. He started with what did he have? A Honda or so. He had a car. He was mowing out of the back of his car. He had it great. I've heard people doing that. So, man, I would do whatever you got to do to get out there and get going in it. Because I think what you're going to find, I'm not telling you don't work at UPS, probably get good benefits there. But you're gonna probably enjoy getting out there working for yourself and making a good. Are you going to blow people away pulling up in a car, pulling a push mower out the back? Of course not. But it can get you started, and you can try to upgrade as quickly as possible. You sound eager just by the questions you're asking. So, if you put it off, right now it's April 26th. You still got time to get customers, but you wait till June, July and try to save up, and you lose motivation, and you done waited too long to gain new customers at that point, probably. So I would say, go for it if it was me. All right, you have some good videos. Appreciate that. Appreciate you guys watching the videos. I have a crap lawn with different types of grass and this thick vine running around. Well, what do? It's very helpful if you know what kind of grass you've got, and just, I mean, I don't know. You have to give me a little more information. Where do you live? What kind of grass you have? I mean, I had a horrible lawn in my house. I killed the entire lawn and plugged it with Bermuda grass. Now, if you live in Montana, that's not going to work for you. So I just need a little bit more information. Hey, Jason, been watching you for a while. Good stuff. Appreciate that. And I am in South Carolina. Clumping fescue in my centipede lawn that's still coming out of dormancy. What can I do to kill it? Certainty, Celsius combo that I keep talking about, or Katana. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if Katana's labeled for centipede or not. You might want to check that. Katana's pretty slow on fescue, in my opinion. I'd go with the Celsius Certainty combo. Kill just about anything in your yard. But wait till it greens up a little. You may still, I don't know what the weather's like in South Carolina. Make sure your yard's greening up, unless you just go out there spot treating a little bit. All right, Montez from Wisconsin, first time seeing you live. Been taking your advice for the last 2 years. Yeah, I've been on here for about, I don't know, 8 weeks or so. Monday nights, trying to be consistent with it. One time I tried it on a Saturday morning. That was fun. So the participation has been great. I've been having some guests. If you guys have some guests that you'd like to have on, I'm not opposed to having some of you on. I got some people just not YouTubers or anything. I just like having anybody on that we can just talk to about lawn care business. So I'm getting lime green color spots in my St. Augustine turf. Do you have any idea what that could be? Man, that sounds weird. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know. It sounds like it's kind of bleached out a little bit. So I'm sorry. Anybody, if you got a comment, somebody that's watching the video, we got a lot of people watching, know what causes lime green spots in our St. Augustine turf. I'm going to ask the audience for you, and we'll see what we get for you. Oh, I tried killing my grass and weed in the backyard with a weed and grass killer and start over, but it didn't kill all of it. My topsoil will be here this week. I don't have time to redo it. Yeah, are you trying to just kill the whole yard? Because if you're trying to kill the whole yard, you still got time. Just go spray it tomorrow and kill the whole yard. You got time. I mean, just spray again. Yeah, it's hard to kill some. It's hard to kill grass. I tried to kill all my Bermuda grass. I sprayed it 2 times, I think, before I plugged it, and I still got some common Bermuda. I've lived in South Louisiana for 30 years. When I moved to North Louisiana, first time I saw POA, I knew I was too far north. Okay, maybe you guys don't have POA down the very southern part of Louisiana. Interesting. We got it where I live for sure. Great info. Enjoying these lives. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate y'all. Sometimes something different about being on here live. I mean, you're taking questions. I'll be honest. I don't know all the answers to these questions, but you just talk to people, and I don't know. It's just something different. Yeah, I don't mind doing YouTube. I do YouTube all the time, but sometimes you just want to mix it up a little bit. I have a lumpy backyard. How can I level it out? Well, you might can top dress it with a combination, like a mixture of topsoil and sand. I'd go more heavy on the topsoil and less on the sand, but mix that out. There's plenty of videos out there on that. I just leveled my yard, but I did it with a tractor and a box blade. Okay, so depends on what equipment you have and how bad the situation is. You think it would be okay to just put topsoil on it, or just spread Bermuda grass seeds with 10-10-10, or will it hinder the Bermuda growth because it didn't kill all the grass and weeds? No, just spray it again and just kill it dead. Spray it, and then it needs to be hot before you put out your Bermuda grass seed. That's why I didn't do the seed. I just plugged mine. But if you want to seed it, that's fine. It needs to be hot. You need to have a game plan of how you're going to keep it watered for the first 2 weeks until it germinate and get going. And then after it gets going a little bit, put your fertilizer. I wouldn't worry about putting the fertilizer on it right now, but I would spray it again, and I would just give it a few days. Put your topsoil out, put your seeds out. Again, it needs to be hot. I don't know where you live. If you're where I was, if you're where I'm at, Birmingham, to my opinion, it's not quite hot enough yet. I'd wait a little bit. I have a Bermuda lawn that's being invaded by what I suspect is zoysia. There's runners like centipede and has red tips. What can I do to stop it? I don't know, man. That sounds like some crazy zoysia there. If you got zoysia in your Bermuda, you're going to have a hard time getting it out, or vice versa. But I'm not convinced that you got zoysia based on your description, but I'm not sure. Can tenacity cause TTTF to turn brown? Well, I'm sure if you use a high enough rate, I know tenacity is a very common product to use on fescue, turf type tall fescue. But you know, I mean, again, I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I know herbicides turn grass brown when you go over the label and spray it too hard. But it could be something else causing it to turn brown too. So I wouldn't necessarily think that's the only reason it's turning brown. Does Bermuda grass need to be aerated and overseeded? If so, when's the best time to do so? Not really. I mean, I have people all the time ask me, should I overseed my Bermuda lawn? I want to put some seed out. And I'm like, why would you do that? If it was going to grow there, it would have already grown there. Like it grows so fast. It's so aggressively growing. So no, I don't think you have to do that. I wouldn't worry about seed. If you want to put some sod in bare spots, make sure that it's bare, but for some reason or other, if it's bare and you have Bermuda grass for years, it's probably never going to grow there. Like it's just not getting enough sunlight. So you could put zoysia in a situation like that. All right, I'm going to go rapid fire because there's overwhelming amount of questions on here. And let's see how fast I can blow through these. Y'all cut the questions off if you can, because I'm going to blow through here and see if I can get to the end of these. Looks like we have a house full of good old Southern boys here. All right, that's why I guess I fit in. Southeast Softwash says, Jason, we have some good mutual acquaintances, Brian's Lawn Maintenance, Calfus. Those are enjoyable guys to be around. Tenacity, half a teaspoon a gallon, and surfactant. I'm not sure the context of that comment. Love your content, especially aggravating customers. We are located in Alabama as well. Keep up the great comment. All right. Glad to have another fellow Alabamian on here. Scott says, what kind of spray can we use to kill ivy? Oh, I got you. Well, there's some like big box store stuff that kills ivy. I actually did a video recently on one. I forget what it was called. But, Change Up is the product that we use that will kill poison ivy and like briars and vines and things like that. My neighbors don't treat their yard for anything. How can I put down 007? Oh, how often can I put down 007 in Atlanta with Bermuda? I'm assuming it's like a 007 with some kind of pre-emergent attached to it, like dimension or prodiamine. I mean, go by the label. It depends on how much you're putting down. But oftentimes we put a product like that down 3 times or a pre-emergent. So you might do, but I would say, I don't know if that's necessary. You want to do it once. We're kind of too late for it now, but once like January, February, and then come back again and do it in September before we start getting cool weather, and that'll help with your cool season weeds. Have you ever dealt with Bermuda mites? Has anything works on killing them? Not sure about Bermuda mites, but there's lots of herbicides and pesticides you can use for the lawn that kill a lot of bugs. I use Talstar Pro a lot. It's liquid and not that expensive, and it knocks out lots of bugs. What rate would you mix Change Up in a 1 gallon sprayer? About 1 ounce per gallon is what I do with a little bit of surfactant. Now, you don't have to spray it very much. Just get it a little bit wet. I need help. I see a lot of people posting how to clean a lawn full of weeds, but after you spray weed killer and have them killed for a couple of days, what do you do after that? How to pull them out? You just mow them. You start mowing the grass. And I tell people all the time, it's not a magic act. They're not going to disappear. You don't have to pull them out. You just start mowing, they'll go away, and your grass should fill in. Oh, mesophore, generic tenacity. Okay, so y'all are going back to the cool season questions again to make me show what I don't know about that. What do weeds come from? Where do weeds come from? Why do cow pastures have few weeds versus residential lawns? Oh, I think cow pastures have plenty of weeds. Where they come from, I think God made the weeds. So that's my explanation for that. So at this time to address emerging crabgrass, the best treatment would be quinchloride, correct? That would be my suggestion. Yes. All right. Is $40 a lawn residential good price? Absolutely, for a small yard, but terrible price for a big yard. What's your go-to fertilizer around this time of year? It's going to depend on the time of grass you're using. Like I said, I buy my fertilizer from Harold's. I use a 20-3-5 blend on my Bermuda and Zoysia lawns. Right now, quick release fertilizer. I come back with a 38-0-6 blend that has a lot of slow release fertilizer. I put that out starting about mid-May to keep it green the rest of the year. What's a good way to get rid of Bermuda grass? I guess Roundup. I don't know what you're trying to get rid of it where? In a flower bed or something, or out of some other type of lawn. All right, early spring, lawn full of weeds. I sprayed with weed killer and they're all dead. How do I pull them out? Yeah, you just start mowing. All right. Is that an answer to my question? I'm not sure, guys. Fuselage. Okay, so that's he's saying that's a product to get rid of Bermuda grass. Please make a video pulling the weeds. Dude, I'm not making a video out there pulling weeds out in the yard. That's just, I don't pull weeds out of my yard hardly ever. Oklahoma's here. Thank you, Oklahoma. There's the product for killing the Bermuda grass. How do you get rid of wiregrass? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would recognize that one. Can you spell the mesochemical? No, I can't spell it, but they're saying that's the generic version of tenacity. And he says, started watching your videos when I was buying my first zero turn. I got my second one, X mark radius 52 inch. That's a great mower. I'm glad you're being successful. Can cutting yards full of weeds transmit weeds to your other yards? I mean, yeah, people say that all the time. I think if you're treating the yard, you got to pre-emergent. Yes, the answer is yes, but that's usually not the reason your neighbor's yard's got full of weeds is because your yard's full of weeds or vice versa. You know, it's just, if you do a good treatment program, you can basically draw a line from where the treatment stopped and where they started. Do you charge per square foot for spraying a yard or based on the neighborhood? Yeah, I'm pretty much charging per square foot. I mean, that's the main factor, but there's also, if I've got to drive further, then, you know, maybe if you got to drive further, then you charge more. If it's got a bunch of obstacles or on a hill or little crazy things that make it more difficult, then I'm going to adjust the price accordingly. Ringer is mostly soybean meal. Just use soybean meal. Okay. All right. I'm not sure about that one. What cool season grass come out of dormancy first? I'm in Utah. Most of my lawns are still in dormancy. I would not know the answer to that one. I thought people always talk about the cool season grass are green year round. If you're mowing, get a Ferris. Adam may work for Ferris. He has talked about Ferris a couple times on here. Caleb Mingo says, hey, can you dethatch a centipede lawn? I have a thatch problem. You can, but what you might want to do too is change your mowing pattern, David, and start just mowing it real low, like mow it at an inch and a half consistently, and once a week. And so if you let your centipede get up 3 or 4 inches tall, it's not ideal, and you're going to end up. I've seen people let their centipede get so tall, and it's just got all kind of junk in it. So I'd scalp it even if it's stressed it out. When you talk about taking over a neighborhood, how exactly do you do that? Targeting advertising or just knock on doors? You knock on doors. You can, hopefully just start getting referrals and just. I got yard signs. I don't know. I just think once you get a neighborhood going, you pick up several yards in that neighborhood. You focus on that. Sometimes I think we start taking on a yard that's way away, and I think if we spent more time, so yeah, I think you can even write little handwritten postcards to the neighbors, being out there on Saturday, whatever, direct mail, whatever you got to do. I'm about to buy my first string trimmer. Do you have any suggested brands? I prefer gas, not battery. I kind of like the Husqvarnas myself. I've got a Husqvarna 525 LS. I like it a lot. How do I kill stupid wiregrass? I don't know what wiregrass is. How do you get rid of moles? Sometimes people say kill the grubs and the moles will leave. I heard somebody else say you can put chewing gum in the ground and that'll get rid of them. Creeping Charlie Blues. Change up works good in warm season grasses. I guess some cool season grasses you can use change up as well. And Sure Power, I believe, is one that works for that as well. Just got my new business cards. All right, Nick. Good for you. Get out there while you got a chance. The spring rush is here, and once you miss it, it's going to be hard. Up in Seattle, has cold season grass. Yeah, I don't know what the weather's like in Seattle. Other than it rains a lot. I don't know if the grass is what it's doing up there. I don't get a lot of people from Seattle though, that's for sure. So thanks for watching. What do you think of subscription service like Sunday? I'm not familiar with that one in particular. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't think that they're going to be able to address your weed control problems like a company would or like you can yourself. I'm not saying it's a waste of money, but I don't think they're going to be able to specifically because they're actually not ever looking at your grass. They're just taking some data. MSM turf with a little 2,4-D. I'm not sure. I forget the question that was from. From Virginia, how do I kill wiregrass? Man, this guy is the wire. If somebody knows how to kill wiregrass, can you send it to Hilbert? I just signed up my 45th customer on several RV parks. That's great. How long did it take you to get 100 customers, and what did your second year look like as far as customers? Well, my recent business, it's my third lawn business. My recent business, I got about 100 the first year, which was great. And the second year, I got about 100 more. So that's how that goes. Second year is usually better because I got my feet under my channel. Hey, the only warm season YouTuber I follow. Appreciate that, JD. I'm going to try to grow in my knowledge of cool season grass so I can be more helpful. Lime green could be too much water in St. Augustine. Okay, thank you for that. That was somebody asking me. Could be some sort of herbicide. That's true too. Lacks micronutrients and iron. And good suggestions. Hey, he gets in every week. He comes inside. Just got in. You work all the time, man. Scout my Bermuda in the back and work in landscape beds. I like it, man. You get home and work in your own yard. That's great. All right, he says, thank you for that. Lime green St. Augustine could be a lack of iron, but it's a bit early unless you're in Florida. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. What height to mow? It depends on the type of grass you got. Yes, chloride. I'm sorry, I can't say that. In St. Augustine. I think he said something about lack of iron. What do you think about Hustler mowers? I kind of like Hustler mowers. My first zero-turn mower was a Hustler Mini Z, 44-inch, 19 horsepower Kawasaki. I really like that mower. I have a tall fescue lawn with a wild violet clover problem. I sprayed 2,4-D with triclopyr mix. The leaves turn brown, but it looks like it's coming back. Any advice? Yeah, I know wild violet. We talked about that. Sure Power, I believe, is a good one for that. And in your what is it? Quinclorac products work good on them. I'm not sure what you can use on your type of grass. Hey, Jason, I'm from Maryland, tall fescue. My question is second pre-emergent application. I'm spraying Dimension and a little Drive Accelerate. What are you spraying? What fert are you spraying? So I don't use liquid fertilizer in the South. I know a lot of people up north do. On my second application, I'm doing a second round of Prodiamine with triplet, which is a 3-way product just to help with the broadleaf weeds. That's round 2 for me, and I start fertilizing round 3 with a granular fertilizer for our Bermuda grass, which is what I primarily deal with. I have an 1.5 acres full of Bermuda. I pulled weeds bags full. Use a good weed killer and spray again in a month. They will die. If you have a bagger, that helps. Don't forget pre-emergent. I think he was responding to somebody else. Red tips is stressed out zoysia. Okay. That guy was earlier saying he had zoysia invading his Bermuda. Good luck stopping Bermuda. That's right. It's a tough one. It's tough to kill when you're trying to kill. Can I mix Q4 with Metsil with MSMA? I'm not sure. MSMA is not legal on residential properties. When is the ideal time to start fertilizing any lawns? Depends on where you live and what kind of grass you got. There's a lot of factors there. So it's not one answer to that. Can you use Milorganite anytime? I'm sure you can use it anytime, but it's not going to be very effective when the grass is not growing very much. What height to mow? Depends on the grass you got. Anyway, where can I get Spectacle Flow? I buy mine from Harold's. You can get it at pretty much any dealer that sells herbicides and probably buy it online as well. It is a Bayer product. Best grass for shade. In the South, zoysia is probably the best, with St. Augustine being a close second. Up north, I would think just about all those cool season grasses can tolerate shade. How much should I charge for a small and large lawn? That's a pretty vague question. I mean, you have to have a minimum price. It's a small lawn, maybe say $35 my minimum price. I don't know where you live. I don't know if you're mowing, spraying. I don't know what you're doing. Large lawn, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about, 4 acres or 10,000 square feet, what you classify as large, but you need to have a minimum price so that you don't, compromise yourself. Let's see. I lost my place on the questions, man. What in the world? Oh, here we go. Found it. Rubber mulch, yay or nay? I kind of like it, but it's expensive. I sprayed my yard with an ounce and a half gallon of glyphosate in mid-February, not greened up even a tiny bit. I'm worried. What kind of grass was that? I'm hoping that was Bermuda. And I'm not sure where you live, Penelope. Florida. Okay. I have Bermuda grass, live in South Carolina. Okay. Some tells me it's going to come back, Penelope. I mean, of course, I can't promise that. I'm not there. I didn't see you do it, but it's tough to kill Bermuda. So you may have sure enough delayed the green up, but I'm optimistic it's going to come back. Lansing peat moss compost spreaders are amazing. Yeah, I've seen those things. They're pretty cool. It's like you roll it around. Thank you for that suggestion. How do you deal with competition? You just set yourself apart. I'd say all competition is not true competition because some of them are just not very good, to be honest with you. So you have good appearance. You show up when you say you're going to. You be professional. Anyway, and there's that peat moss spreader thing. Tall fescue lawn spray with 2,4-D. The leaves turn red. I think we did that one already. But thank you for the $10 donation there. Any advice? How long between apps? As far as how long, it should tell you on the label. But you may go, like I said, that Sure Power is good for wild violet, I believe, and quinclorac. Clover. I mean, we use metsulfuron to knock out your clover. What handheld blower do you suggest under 150 bucks? I've got the little Milwaukee battery power one. It's awesome. As far as the gas power ones, I hadn't been real impressed with any of them, to be honest with you. I had one I wasn't crazy about, but I've got 4 battery powered handheld blowers, and by far the best one is the Milwaukee one. How much you charge for small lawns? Seems like we answered that. Hey, I'm from Virginia. Any thoughts on the efficacy of using chicken feed as organic fertilizer for lawn? I'm sure it will work to some degree, but as far as how well it works, I don't know. I don't have experience with that. I played a pretty heavy dose of over-the-counter 2,4-D a month ago. Still have some clover and quite a bit of POA. How do I didn't pre-emerge. What should I do now? Well, the POA is going to die out soon. I mean, when it gets hot, I don't know where you live, but I just let it die out. And the clover, I mean, you can go in there and you can spray it with the 2,4-D or metsulfuron, or just lots of things will kill that. But I wouldn't get all hung up on the POA. I just let the heat kill it. Bermuda. Do you know anything about Tough? Not really. I forget what I've even been told about that. I'm sorry. Thinking about starting a lawn care company. Where do you think I should start? You watch all my videos. There you go. If I spray weeds and grass and killer, how long do I want to wait to put the topsoil on? Spray my Bermuda grass seed. I think we've addressed that. I'd spray it. 2 days later, bury it with topsoil if you want. It may or may not get all of it, but and I wait till it gets hot before you put the seed out. Somebody, wiregrass, they said kill. I'm assuming that's a very tough weed to kill. Caleb says, thank you. In Texas, quinclorac smoked my early crabgrass. That's great. Second year of seeded Zenith zoysia, looking good too. That's awesome. Haltom City in the house. What state is that in? I don't know where that is. Thank you for your response. No problem, Penelope. Thanks for watching. I'm using Spectricide weed and grass killer. All right, there you go. Yeah, if it'll kill, I mean, just glyphosate will kill it dead as a hammer, probably. Do you use Speed Zone very often? Not really, but I am familiar with Speed Zone. The wiregrass region in the area encompassing parts of southern Georgia, southeastern Alabama, and Florida Panhandle region named from the native wiregrass. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with like Dothan, Alabama area. I'm assuming that's wiregrass region down toward Dothan. I don't work for Ferris. I just cut a lot of grass, had 2 back surgeries. Staying on would be my only option, but they cost more. Okay. He's just a big Ferris fan. Nothing wrong with that, Adam. I don't know that I've ever owned a Ferris, but glad that you like them. How to get rid of Virginia buttonweed and St. Augustine grass. I like blindside, but it's nearly impossible to kill, but it'll shrivel it up, make it look like it's dying. And we cut clover real short in Bermuda. Yeah, you stress it out, and it will kind of die down when the heat, it may not kill it, but This time of year, it's going clovers crazy, but when it gets hot, it kind of settles down. It's not as ugly, even if you don't kill it. Have you ever installed a DIY sprinkler system? No, I have not. Jeremy says he's smarter and better looking than you. All right. My brother's named Jeremy, so I don't know who that is. Whatever. All right. Appreciate you guys watching and cutting off the questions. We've had a jam-packed show. I guess we probably went through just about near 100 questions. I don't know. But we didn't answer them all, and I feel like I learned something every time. So appreciate everybody watching, whether live or on replay. I'm Jason Creel. If you're in the lawn business, go to lawncarelife.com. There's some resources available for you there, courses, stuff you want to get in weed control, you want to buy different digital products we offer to help you get started. But yeah, we'll try to get back next week. Maybe I get a guest on. I've got some guests in mind, and we will continue doing this hopefully on a weekly basis. Talk to you guys later. Good night. Bye.